wanted to get a chance to shine a light on my brother Chris and the team at 1-800-Flowers. 4.5 years ago, I stepped down as the chairman, and the board elected my brother Chris, 10 years my junior. We're 2 of 5. I'm the oldest, Chris is the youngest, and we've been in business together for 100 years. Well, it just seems like 100 years, over 40 years, and Chris has been with the company now over 30 years. But 4.5 years ago, I transitioned from CEO and chair to just chair, and Chris was elevated to the CEO role. And things have been going quite well in our business. We're in a nice business. We do nice things for people. And over the years, following our customers' desire to express and connect to all the important people in our lives, we followed a path of finding how would they most like to do that. And we've expanded our product offerings along that path to service them at a broader set of gifting needs. And you mentioned Harry & David is one of our newer brands. 5 years ago, we acquired that company. We long wanted to, but we were lucky enough to be able to do that 5 years ago. And what we describe is that our company through these 40 plus years has been through an evolution, several of them, in fact. And we think of them as different waves that impacted our business and how we go to market, how we try and serve our customers. The first wave was obvious. We had retail stores. Well, maybe not so obvious anymore because we don't have too many retail stores anymore. But we built a chain of retail stores. And then in the mid 80s, which was 100 years ago, it seems, we embraced the 800 number, 800 Flowers, as our primary access modality. Then Chris came along, joined the company, new out of university, into all the new technologies, and he was always playing around with what could be the new technology. Here we're two guys who created an international brand with no money, and we did it by tenacity and embracing a new technology that people were interested in. It's hard to think of an 800 number as being new technology, but back then it was. So we were always paranoid about it. Well, if we could change our whole category with no money, but just with an idea, who's going to replace us? So Chris was always on the lookout for what's next. And we used to keep track of how many different experiments we did with technology, including CD catalog, ROMs, et cetera. And I think we got over 50 in our count. But this online world, not yet called the internet, just kept coming up. So we were very, very early to the internet. And that was our third wave. Then the next wave, back at the last big recession, 08, 09, 10, we'd been investing in a whole lot of developmental projects. The good news is we were never unprofitable even through the recession, but for the first time ever, we took a backward step in sales for 2 years. Not big, but enough to say, wow, we have to do things differently. So we had to defund some of the projects we were investing in, but 2 that Chris insisted we not, 3 actually, that we continue to invest in because we knew we'd come out the other side of this was building out our technology platform, investing in mobile capability, and closely aligned with that is making sure we invested in all the social technologies. And that served us well. When the recession ended, we came out, we just catapulted to the top. And now, frankly, we're in the 5th wave, which Chris is the first person I heard refer to what we're in now as the era of conversational commerce. And that was 6 or 7 years ago. And of course, that became and people still talk about conversational commerce because of the adaptation of all the new voice technologies. But frankly, I think it's morphed more into engagement commerce, using the tools that we have available to us today in technology to mimic the way we interacted with our customers back 40 years ago when we had one flower shop and 40 customers who made our business go. So it's all about using those tools and technology to mimic those personal relationships. But let's fast forward to earlier this year, back in March. Set the stage a little bit for Chris here. Chris, we're bumping along. We've been having our fiscal year is July 1st to June 30th, so we're substantially through the fiscal year. We had just finished Valentine's Day and had a record Valentine's Day. Christmas was a huge success. We're up more than 10% in our organic growth rate. The pace is quickening. We're feeling pretty good about things. And then come along mid-March, this whole thing exploded on us, this whole COVID experience. What I'd love for you to do, Chris, is tell us a little bit about what happened, What were you feeling in those earliest days when our fears were kind of primal? And how did the team respond, gather ourselves up, and get on with business and handle what COVID created for us? What I mean by that is there are two kinds of problems from this COVID reaction. One is you're a restaurateur and you've just been punched in the nose, and it's not going to get better for a long time. And then you have a company like ours where it created a great demand. How did you respond in the earliest days, and then how have you responded to the challenges of doing business in an accelerated fashion during this COVID experience?
Well, thanks, Jim. As I think about it, I think of March 10th, actually. Before things really caught on fire, I get an email from a friend of mine who wants to schedule a poker game the following week. And he's the jokester that he is, said, and I'm thinking of setting up a big screen that we could watch a movie at the same time. Maybe we'll watch Contagion. He didn't realize he was forecasting what we'd be living through for the next year and a half, 2 years or so. But as we all know, it was on March 11th when the president announced that it was a national emergency for us. But even then, I don't think the consumer really caught on and general public caught on to what we were facing until about an hour after the president's speech, the NBA started to cancel the games. Then we knew we were in some serious trouble. But what happened was, and we looked at it, was the management team of our company, which is just, a fantastic team. It's been with us for a long time, many of them, just sprang into action. So we were coordinating things. Prior to that, we were coordinating and keeping an eye on this as it was breaking out in China. And we're worried about how it might impact our supply chain. So that started in the early January timeframe. And the supply chain team then transformed into a preparedness and response team led by our general counsel. And they're giving our leadership.
Why the general counsel?
Sometimes you just got to turn to people that can get things done.
Yeah.
And Michael's one of those people that when you need something done, he gets it done for you. So we had this.
It's the old saying: if you want to get something done, give it to a busy person, huh?
Exactly. So Michael and team are preparing things, giving us updates. But by the time we hit March, and by the time we hit March 11th, March 12th, declared a national emergency, we knew we were in for a long ride. So my management team, we started 2-a-day meetings right away, 10 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, evenings as necessary, and just going through all of the changes that were being thrown at us. And it was rapid. There were changes being thrown left and right, what's happening to states, what's going on with lockdowns, what's going on in different locales, what's going on with the consumer. And it was an interesting impact on our business because one of the things we saw was that the floral business was pulled way back right away for the first 2 weeks of the pandemic, the last 2 weeks of March. That pulled back, but our food brands, led by Harry and David and Cheryl's Cookies, the Popcorn Factory, Sherry's Berries, surged right away. As people are realizing we're going into this mode of isolation, I think they were turning to stock up on food for themselves, but also as a way to reach out to say to others, we're going to get through this together. We're still connected. And it's one of the most important lessons I think that we've learned here is that as human beings, as we've gone into this process, we realize as we isolate, the need that we have for social connectivity is even greater and greater. And we're very fortunate as a company that we're spot in front of that trend. It is our vision to inspire expression, connection, and celebration. So staying in the forefront of that, but managing the change on an everyday basis was, firefighting on a regular basis for weeks, if not months, until things started to settle down.
How are you sleeping?
I'm still not sleeping. It's a challenge. You asked a question early on, what were we feeling? Paranoia, because you didn't know what went on. I think that's one of the best phrases that we saw from New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo for so often, be on the TV giving his update. You just don't know. Nobody knows. And that was the world we were living in, and to some degree, the world we are still living in. We don't know what's coming next. So you have to be prepared for anything that might come. We were faced with some very challenging decisions early on, as we had, for the proper health reasons, needed to close the retail stores that Harry and David had. And then we realized that opening those stores didn't make sense either, because it's really not as part of our ongoing strategy and where the strengths of the company are the focus. But making difficult decisions like that takes fortitude. And that's nobody's responsibility but mine, because we didn't just close 38 stores. We eliminated 304 positions. That's a difficult decision to make. And that decision is mine. It's nobody else's on the team.
What do you think you've learned about leading in crisis during this? You mentioned asking Michael, our general counsel, to lead our pandemic effort, our preparedness. You said you did that because he's bright and capable, but he's just a doer. He gets things done. What did you learn about the team in terms of their ability to adapt and do things? You mentioned that you had these twice-a-day management meetings. How many days a week did you have those?
7.
So 7 days a week, the team is on. What happened as a result of that? Is the team different today?
Yeah, I think we learned a lot. So to answer the last part of your question, the team is very different today. Even as things started to get into more of a normal routine, I would have some conversation to say, all right, should we be cutting back? Do we need to be staying with these meetings? And the answer was yes, let's stay with them. We've now cut them back to 1 a day, but we still stayed with the meeting because we found it's brought us together even more as a team. Adversity will do that. And we've certainly found that to be the case with our team. Learned that the team is just so committed and so passionate and really collaborative. And as I look back, I often say since we've been in business, Jim, I think we've managed now through 3 major crises. The terrorist attacks of 9/11 and how we as a company responded and managed through that. The financial crisis of the Great Recession that you referenced a minute ago, back in the 8, 9, 10 time period, and now this pandemic. And this one's a little bit different because one of the things that we all realized had to be first and foremost in all of our decisions was the health and safety of our associates, our vendors, and our customers. The other pandemics, the other crises, we had to really look out for the health and safety of the business. Here, people's lives are on the line in a different way. And that was sobering, I think, for the team to realize that and to make sure that those were the decisions that was driving every single decision that we made. But there were some similarities as we look at each of those crises that we managed through that I think we all realized was very important. First and foremost, you cannot communicate enough when going through a crisis like that.
So give us an example of how your communications changed in this firefight.
Just one example was, town hall meetings. We would do town hall meetings maybe once a month or once a quarter sometimes, depending on the time of year. We started doing town hall meetings once a week, and that continues till today. Again, because we're in a different working environment, especially as we still have many people working from home, those town halls are important. We're not getting to have those hallway conversations. Regular newsletters that we were stepping up and sending out to the employee base on a regular basis, at least once a week, if not, and if something was changing, we were sending it more frequently as soon as the change happened. Also was good was reaching out to the employee base as a community and keeping them informed of what was going on, what we were doing in the different communities. One of the things that I love that we did, we reached out to our employee base, our teammates, to say, who has someone who's in a nursing home that's locked down and you can't even get there and get to visit them? And we made sure that in just about every situation, we were able to deliver a floral arrangement or a food gift from one of our brands, just to let those people know that someone is thinking of them.
Chris, how is, you and I have talked before, and we've talked before a lot, but we talked before about this. Back in the beginning of this, we forecast that everything that we were tracking in terms of the things that touch our world were going to change in the next 5 months. would have otherwise taken 5 years. So we called it the 5-to-5 ratio. Everything we thought would happen in 5 years, to real estate, to retail, to e-commerce, all of those things were going to be accelerated and happen in five months instead of the 5 years we forecast. I think that's happened. Now I think it's 10 and 10. And I think in the 10 months from mid-March, everything that we thought would happen in 10 years is going to happen. And I think that's already happened in e-commerce, real estate, retail, and now it's happening in other areas like healthcare, remote working. So now how do you think about our relationship with our customer? Or anything good that's come from this that you could point to and say, we've changed our thinking about our customer as a result of this, and that is going to be a good thing?
Sure. I think the most important thing that we really looked at is, just as I was talking about, how we're reaching out to our employee base and building community amongst our employee base, and how we're communicating with them, sharing stories of teammates, spouses perhaps, or family members who are working on the front lines of this, and just sharing that as part of the community, is the same approach now we've taken with our customers, and really moving from a company that's focused on customer acquisition to one that's focused on customer relationships and acquiring a relationship and developing relationship. Reaching out, and you and I started early on sending out weekend updates where we reach out to our customers and just not sell them a damn thing, but just say, how are you doing? Here's some thoughts on how we're doing. Here's how we're feeling. Here's things that we're hearing from others about how to take care of loneliness, how to take care of impending depression that can come from this mode of isolation. And the responses we've gotten back from our customers on that has been fantastic. And it's really filtered into—
I think of an early note we got from a wonderful lady who's a social media influencer herself. And she wrote a note that, I don't know if we were intended to see it or not, but she said, this is back in early May, maybe late April. And she wrote, every other company's writing to me and telling me we're in this together, and would I like a 10% discount? And she said, this is the only company that's writing to me and not asking me to buy a damn thing. And I remember you and I were like flattered by that, because she noticed. She noticed that we were being very real and very in the moment and letting it out how we felt. I think you're right. I think we've taken a giant step toward thinking about what we used to think as a customer base, we now think of as a community. And the fact that people correspond with us over those letters, share their thoughts and ideas, it's a little bit like sipping out of a fire hose, but it's wonderful.
And you mentioned before that with all the technology advancements that we've had as a company, we're all still trying to create the relationship we had in the very first flower shop, where we had 30 or 40 customers and we knew them and had conversation with them, where we would ask them how they're feeling, how they're doing with maybe anxiety problems that they're having. So we were doing the same thing here with our customers, sharing with them. We're reaching out to our employees, our teammates, to make sure that they're paying attention to their mental health as they go through this, providing them tools like the Wisdo application that we've provided them with, the Calm application.
So Wisdo, here you are, you run a world's largest flower and gift company, and you launch something that's a peer-to-peer social health site. What is going on here?
Well, it's different. It's part of recognizing, as we always have, who is our customer and where are they leading us? And we realize our customers are givers, and they're coming to us all the time because they're reaching out to make someone else smile, to connect with them, to express a feeling to them of somehow giving of themselves. That's what they do. Well, in this Wisdo community that in our platform we call Connection Communities, we're giving them the ability to help people in a different way, to help people who are maybe grieving because of a sudden loss of a family member or a friend, people who are dealing with anxiety, as many of us have been dealing with the anxiety as we go through this pandemic, and allowing our customers to be part of a community to help in a different way. It doesn't always have to be with one of our products that they're helping. We just want to help them to continue and inspire them to express, connect, and to celebrate.
This is crazy. You have a flower shop. You got this Wisdo peer-to-peer social health thing. You're doing classes and dinners virtually. You're bringing people together. What's going on here? And more importantly, as you use this as an accelerant, take us by the hand and walk us forward 12 months from now. You and I predicted to our team and to our customers a month ago that we think that this time next year, we think that COVID is essentially in the rearview mirror. It's not gone. There'll be lots of pain and troubles between now and then, but it's going to gradually get better. The treatment pipeline has 480 different treatments in the testing pipeline. There are over 200 vaccines in the testing pipeline. Medical professionals have done a terrific job of learning and iterating and providing better and better care. So this time next year, we forecast for our team, it's going to feel a lot better. It's not going to be, normal's never going to be what we remember, but we're going to feel 75% of the way there to the new normal. How does the business look at that same time a year from now?
Yeah, I think there's several things there. And as we've managed through this time period, what are the things that we've learned? I mentioned communication and the importance of communication, and we touched on that in many different ways, including how we communicate with our customers a little bit differently. I mentioned the need to be visible, even if it's through a screen and you can't be there in person, but to be visible to the team in the town hall meetings that we've done, the newsletters that we've done, et cetera. Stability, letting our teammates and our employee base know that amidst all of this change going on all around you, we're not losing our focus. Our focus is to inspire expression and connection. And therefore, the future is bright. But then what does the future look like? The future looks different. We've accelerated our growth, as we talk about other change being accelerated, to really managing a community of customers, not a customer list. And it's a very different approach on how we manage those communities. What kind of tools we're bringing to them to really enrich their lives, again, around expression, connection, and celebration. And even in the midst of all this darkness that we've lived in, there's always these moments of celebration that we can look for. Certainly I had one in May when my daughter gave birth to our first grandchild. So in the midst of all this, and you couldn't touch the baby, and you have to have your gloves on and your masks on and everything else, it's something that we could celebrate even in the midst of this challenge that we're living through.
Well, we got these young guys here, David and Drew, who don't know what we're talking about in this wonderful Grandfathers Club. But guys, I just wanted to give you a glimpse of why I'm so proud of the team, and I'm so proud of this brother of mine and how he's led this team through this crisis. There's a lot more to go, but I have every confidence that that Chris's dream for what we look like a year from now, much more community focused, much more interested in how do we take our tools and help our customers express, connect, and celebrate. I think the future is rocky, but bright.